In this episode, I'll tell you from my personal experience what's more profitable to buy in Phuket, a villa or a penthouse in a 5-star hotel. My name is Fedorova, and I've been living in Phuket for more than 11 years. I started investing here with small studios, and now I'm buying properties that bring in high dividends. At the end of the episode, I'll introduce you to my investment property and show you the numbers, how much it brings in per month. What can you buy on the island of Phuket for $1 million? Most people compare buying a large 3-bedroom apartment right near the first coastline with buying a villa. And their choice usually falls on the second option, which is to buy a villa. But what really happens with the profitability? Let's look at a specific example. Most villa communities are located quite far from the beach, and the land in those areas is significantly cheaper. Accordingly, there are many more developers who can implement their projects there. So it turns out that during the high season, you can rent everything out, but during the low season, your property might be vacant. Not to mention the issues related to management and all the costs associated with a leaking roof, with cracks, with maintenance and renovation, painting the building's facade. All of this falls entirely on your shoulders. Accordingly, the growth trend for villas usually happens in the first 5 years. They grow quite well in price, they are still new, and they are still in demand. Then, from the 5th to the 10th year, the villa enters a period of stagnation. That is, it's not so fresh anymore, it already needs more major repairs and maintenance. And after the 10th year, the villa's price already starts to fall. Unless, of course, it's a villa located right by the beach, preferably Bang Tao Beach, where capitalization and rental rates are at their highest. If we again consider the example of apartments, then due to the fact that there is no more first coastline being made in Phuket, it's an island where 70% is a national park where you can't build anything and 30% is left for development. And near the first coastline, there is literally a limited number of free plots of land where new, luxurious properties like these 3-bedroom apartments could be located. It is for this reason, due to such a limited land resource, that your property, located right by the first coastline, will capitalize for its entire life. You can't find a better example than Alamanda, which is located across this lake, and it is, by the way, 25 years old. Of course, from a distance, we can't see how well it is maintained in a beautiful condition. But as a person who has lived in the Lagoon for 10 years, I know that every low season, the developer's own repair crew comes and paints all the buildings completely, replaces the tiles in the pool, and changes the engineering systems. That is, they actually carry out colossal, huge and expensive work that the owner himself would not invest in every year for such a renovation. And with this developer, it costs only $3 per square meter per year. So depending on the size of your property, whether it's 100 or 300 square meters, you calculate it at a rate of $3 per square meter per year. This is the sinking fund, which is a capital repair fund that the developer accumulates to maintain this simply luxurious beauty everywhere, including not only the building's maintenance, but also the landscape design. Everything is tidy, the paths are swept, everything is taken care of, the trees are trimmed. It's all about cleanliness and safety, and that's exactly what you're willing to pay for. And the tourists, our target audience, right, for whom we accordingly, invest, who will later rent our properties, they of course also understand the value of the lagoon and this location. But villa communities often don't have any infrastructure right on the territory of the villa community itself. So in fact, you're confined to your villa without any scenic views, and there's no restaurant, no gym, nothing of the sort. Of course, new communities are now appearing that have some minimal infrastructure. But of course, can it really compare with the infrastructure of a developer who has been cultivating 485 hectares of land here for 38 years and has built luxurious 5-star resorts, paths, sidewalks, lakes, and a ton of restaurants here? And most importantly, the main attraction is of course the beach clubs like Zana and Rava, in which $12 million were just invested. It has only just been opened, and many other things. Alright, now let's get back to the comparison with the villas themselves. Besides the fact that there's no centralized management company that could immediately fix any issues that were made during construction, there's also the management company that has to handle the rentals. And of course, the developers who build these villa communities don't care about the future management of your, say, 10 or 20 villas. Therefore, you are left to your own devices and face huge competition from similar villas in Phuket on aggregators like Booking.com and Airbnb. Of course, you can turn to a third-party management company, but as a rule, having the developer's own management company has a more positive impact on pricing and occupancy than if agents do it. And now for the most painful topic, the quality of construction. The developers who build these villa communities, they hire contractors. As a rule, they don't have their own construction companies. And what happens? You explain to the contractor 5 times how to relay the tile so that it's not crooked and skewed as it usually turns out, but so that they get it perfectly straight. And at some point, either you as the developer start suing them and just give up on it and create your own construction company, as was the case with me when during COVID we just got tired of suing contractors and created our own staff of 400 employees. Let me remind you that I had a group of companies with 400 people and we built the Radisson Hotel in Phuket, 500 meters from Bang Tao Beach. So, for the most part, developers just turn a blind eye to their useless, low-quality contractors. And as a result, clients accept the villas as they are. One of my clients accepted a villa with a professional team from Bangkok. He brought in 8 people to conduct a professional inspection, understandably because he's a professional developer from Moscow himself and builds very serious large-scale structures. So despite the fact that this is a very famous developer, 1,147 issues. 1,147. Can you imagine that? To fix it, it took him, of course, many months. Since he's also a bulk investor, he had a good relationship with the developer, who actually fixed everything in a timely and high-quality manner, which is actually very surprising. But if you, for example, are buying just one villa, then be prepared for the developer not to be eager to fix these issues very quickly. As for, again, investments in the Banyan Tree Group. We did the last inspection last week, and the property, which costs $1,200,000 with a private pool, it's a gorgeous 2-bedroom apartment with a view of the lake and the sea. And it also has a 7-year installment plan. We had literally about 20 absolutely insignificant issues with the inspection because the developer has been in business for over 38 years. It's also important to note that the building materials used in villa communities are, of course, not always of high quality. For example, many build on a strip foundation, and concrete, as we know, is hygroscopic. It sucks up moisture up to the 4th floor, and so your villa, after absorbing all that moisture, will simply be covered in mold and fungus. And fungus, bacteria, that's the most dangerous carcinogenic substance in the air. So you should never ever breathe in this mold, which will inevitably form in the villas. I'm not trying to talk you out of buying a villa in Phuket, but I am trying to highlight some points that agents often don't mention, and which you will inevitably face when investing in a villa in Phuket. Also, regarding the inspection itself, as a rule, investors don't bother with such a professional inspection and a team from Bangkok. They don't pay for their accommodation and flights to do such a professional, in-depth job. Instead, they accept the property through their agents. Agents are not builders, guys. They don't have that kind of education. Even though I had a group of companies with 400 people, I don't do inspections myself. I hire professional teams here that scan all the walls, find absolutely all the unevenness and roughness, check the fire safety system and all the drains. In short, it's a very serious major process, and if you don't skimp on it, it will allow you to save a lot of money on the reconstruction of your property in the long run. And now I'll share my case study. 4 years ago, I bought an apartment at Angsana Beachfront Residences. This is the exact apartment where we are right now. It's 300 square meters located on the grounds of the 5-star Angsana Hotel, which has extensive infrastructure. A 323-meter long pool, the private Angsana Beach Club, the Rawa Beach Club right here, and a lot of other infrastructure, including a kids club on the complex's grounds. And the beauty of it is that during the investment, I paid only 50% before the construction was finished, and for the other 50%, I have an installment plan for 5 years, right after the construction is completed. So once I've accepted the property, I can live here myself, rent it out, and use the rental income to cover the payments on my installment plan. That's the beauty of it. And considering the fact that this is a first-line beachfront property and there's such a small, limited number of properties in this location, this property's value has grown for me by 2.5 to 3 times. In fact, at the maximum price, if you look at the market, it's more than 3 times. And if you want to sell it quickly, you'll multiply your capital by 2.5 times. But I only paid 50% of the cost, so on the invested capital, my return was 6x. This is how investments near the first-line beachfront work. Even though I constantly get offers to resell this penthouse, I don't intend to sell it, as many of my neighbors and clients have done. Because this kind of property, as you've already understood, will continue to grow in price. By the way, going back to that same Alamanda, which looks very beautiful because Laguna takes such good care of it, clients and investors bought it 25 years ago. A 2-bedroom, 107 square meter apartment for $30,000. With an inflation of 1% in Thailand and the maximum stability of the currency, the Thai baht, today the cost of these same old apartments is, wait for it, $500,000 to $600,000. This is Capitalization in Phuket in the Bang Tao area. This 2-level penthouse has 3 bedrooms, one of which I converted myself because it significantly increases the rental price, especially during the high season. Not 2 bedrooms, but having 3 bedrooms because people travel with their kids, grandmothers, and nannies. Also, a huge screen for people to watch a full-fledged movie. Just now, while they were getting me ready for the shoot, I watched a long episode of my trip to Tibet, and I just really enjoyed this home theater myself. There's another bedroom there, and a roof with a private pool and a barbecue area. Let's go take a look. And such a spacious roof with a partial sea view and with its own private pool with a picturesque view of the lake. By the way, what's very important is that this is the sunrise side, so the sun rises here at 5 or 6 in the morning. A divine pink, red, violet, lilac sky. And then the sun moves to the other side, to the western coast, and the apartment stays in the shade all day and doesn't heat up. It's actually very cool here. And now for the most interesting part. You can also take advantage of the same investment strategy with an installment plan for up to 8 years. And today there are very cool properties for sale that are located just 100 meters from our very own Bang Tao beach. There are penthouses, 2-bedroom apartments of 121 square meters and 3-bedroom apartments of 163 square meters. Of course, they sell out quite quickly because this is a very rare and unique segment for this location, and also an installment plan for 8 years. These are, of course, fantastic terms because it means your return on invested capital doubles with any investment strategy, regardless of whether you want to sell your property after construction is complete or, for example, earn rental income. In any case, on your invested capital, your return is 2x. Well, as for the numbers, how much you can earn from renting such an apartment, I'll share a little secret. If we take a daily rental and, for example, rent it out monthly, it's probably easier, yes, for everyone to think in terms of months. Then in the peak high season, for example, in December, January, these apartments cost about $30,000 to $40,000 a month. And if we rent it out in the low season, it's about $10,000 to $12,000 a month. If you take such an apartment on a yearly contract, which is actually partly beneficial for many who don't want to bother with rentals, then this property will cost about $12,000 on a yearly contract. Such a gorgeous penthouse on the first coastline of Bang Tao Beach. If you are interested in the topic of investment real estate on Phuket Island, then subscribe to my channel and stay up to date with the news. Also leave a request and my managers from Phuket will contact you right away and will be able to select a property specifically for your budget and your investment strategy, which we can also create together with you. This was Diana Fedorova, a professional investor in foreign real estate. And I'll see you in Dubai, Bali, or on Phuket Island.